This week we bring you a very special Quality Digest Live from the Coordinate Metrology Systems Conference in New Orleans, Louisiana.
On this episode, we'll be chatting with CMSC leadership and previewing a great new laser tracker from FARO Technologies. All that and more when we come back.
Welcome back to Quality Digest Live for July 20th, 2012. QDL is your weekly look at who and what is making the news in the world of quality. I'm Dirk Ducharme, Editor-in-Chief of Quality Digest.
And I'm Quality Digest publisher Mike Richmond. So, here we are, Dirk. We're at CMSC 2012 in the fabulous Roosevelt Hotel, just steps away. That's right, Nolan's, Big Easy. Just steps away from Bourbon Street, as we have well known over these past couple of days. As always, the CMSC is the place, thank you, for dimensional metrology solutions. There's lots going on here, from terrific white paper presentations demonstrating the latest advancements in the industry, measurement study on the importance of practical testing, a careers fair, and lots of new products, one of which, from FARO, will be featured
later on
in our Tech Corner segment later on in the show. So, for an up-close and personal view of the exhibit hall floor right behind us, we're going to throw it now to our special correspondent Jeff Dewar, who's chatting with CMSC Chairperson Chuck Pfeffer. Take it away, guys.
Thanks, Mike and Dirk. Well, I'm standing here with Chuck Pfeffer. He's the Executive Chairman for the Coordinate Metrology Systems Conference. Welcome, Chuck.
Well, thank you.
And he is the chairperson for the 2012 conference. And what we're doing is having a little chat about some big picture issues. So, Chuck, it seems to me that this convention, this group of people has changed significantly over the last decade or so in terms not just in the growth of people, but in terms of their expectations. Would you speak to what sort of changes the attendees are looking for in this conference?
Yeah, well, we have experienced continuous growth, throughout the life of the conference, and even in the last 10 years, an accelerated growth. We've actually attracted a diverse group. There's a core group here that comes every year, and these are the real leaders in the industry. These are the cutting edge people that are pushing the limits on what they can do with the technology, and then the exhibitors are coming here to provide that technology to meet those needs. But also recently we've had a large influx of new users of this equipment, as sort of the baton is passed in a lot of these companies where new blood is coming in. And so this year we have 90 people. We asked this morning everyone to raise their hand. We had a huge group in there this morning at the plenary session of new people, at first time at this conference. So they're coming to learn from those experienced core people who are here every year, and also come and see the great exhibit hall of all the great technology.
Now, this morning I heard one of the speakers in the plenary session. He was talking about the growth in the industry, and I think I heard the word exponential. And not just in terms of the number of people that came here, but in terms of the use of portable 3D metrology. Sure. What's going on in that, and what's fueling that growth?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's an efficiency in using the portable systems, and a lot of these companies have grown from $10, $20 million companies to $250 million companies just in the last 10 years. And what we're seeing is that more and more customers need the information on the floor, where the parts are being built, where the parts are being assembled. So there isn't time or availability to move a part to an expensive room or to a different part of the plant. So portable means that you can bring this equipment right where it's needed, solve the problem, and keep moving. So there's such an efficiency in it. And in many cases, the equipment here is less expensive even than the bigger fixed machinery that was used before. So it's just economic advantage to have the portable flexibility in your plant.
And how do you see all the exhibitors in this hall? How are they responding to those kind of challenges?
Well, I mean, I think the demand that they see is for, smaller, faster, lighter, which is a typical thing. You're talking about things portable, that's always going to make it better. But one of the key things that you'll see walking through the exhibit hall, over the last 5 years, a lot of this portable stuff has gone from contact probing to non-contact probing. So it's not, now you're talking about scanning and not probing at all. So if you just look down the aisle, I mean, nearly every booth has some form of non-contact product, as well as the more traditional contact inspection material.
Okay. And in terms of the measurement study, I see this is kind of a central piece that's been talked about this morning. What is the purpose and the structure of this measurement study?
Right, well, we started the measurement study 2 years ago, and we wanted to look at how behaviors impact measurement. We have a lot of great technology here, a lot of great instrumentation, and it's all certified and calibrated so you know it's accurate. But there's still a dependence on how you use that. So we started small, we started with hand tools, and we did a measurement study to see how behaviors impacted the results. And we found that when we let people measure whatever they wanted, however they wanted, they got some pretty erratic results, even though the equipment was very good and accurate. And when they got some instruction and they understood what they were doing, they got much better results. So 2 years ago we did that with hand tools, and last year we did that with some of the higher tech equipment that we have in the booth this year, articulated arm CMMs and laser trackers. So that was looking at how the behaviors impact the measurement process. This year we took it a step further, and we're looking at the importance of actually testing people on their competence. So the importance of practical testing on this same equipment. And the purpose of this is to see if we can come up with an examination, a hands-on examination, to see if someone can prove their proficiency on this equipment.
And is that part of a larger scheme? I mean, what's the purpose of that, proving my proficiency at various technologies?
Right. So in parallel with that effort that I described, we've also been developing a certification program. So 4 years ago, we've heard the demand from our membership that there's no way to prove that someone has a capability with this equipment. So we started a path to create a certification program for 3D quarter metrology.
All right. Now, you are, at the end of this week, the outgoing chairman of the CMSC, and Rob MacGyver is your vice chair now, right, that will be stepping in your shoes. Right. What advice do you have for him come this Friday?
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge for me was becoming an author. I didn't realize that was a big part of this, but the CMS has 4 online and 2 printed publications that we do in conjunction with Quality Digest as our publisher. And so Rob's going to need to come up with 6 great articles, and so we should start thinking now about what he might be writing about next year.
Have you volunteered your efforts to support him in that?
No, I will not help him write that. I think, I don't want him to sound too much like the stuff I wrote. So
it's part of his growth, huh?
Yeah. So.
All right, thank you. I've been talking to Chuck Pfeffer. He's the executive chairman for the Quarter Metrology Systems Conference this year. In his spare time, he is the director of product management for 3D systems at FARO Technologies. I'm Jeff Doerr for the Quality Digest. Mike, Dirk, back to you.
Well, thanks, Jeff, and thanks, Chuck. The CMSC has been running these measurement surveys for the last 2 years, gathering a lot of data on how technicians actually test and measure. And it's been a long-term goal for the CMSC to create the first ever certification program to validate people's proficiency in the use of equipment such as laser trackers and CMMs. Well, we're joined right now by Randy Gruver, who heads up the certification committee of the CMS. Randy is going to update us on the status of the long-anticipated program. Randy, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Before we get into what's kind of an update of what's been going on, give us kind of just a brief synopsis of what the measurement study and the pilot program, what those are all about, what you're trying to accomplish.
Okay. This is kind of a landmark event for us this year. It's a culmination of 4 years worth of effort that the Society has invested in a certification in portable 3D metrology, and that certification has 2 elements. One is a cognitive element, which is a level 1 certification that we're administering this week. The second is a psychomotor or performance-based assessment, which is the measurement study that's going on behind us.
And what was the purpose of the measurement study?
The purpose of the measurement study is to observe behaviors and best practices or not that are being performed by the volunteers that are participating in the measurement study.
And if I remember from last year, kind of what you discovered is that a lot of people supposedly who really know measurement and how to take measurements maybe don't often perform the job quite as well as they could have.
We're careful not to emphasize that at a personal level. But the data that we've collected over the past 3 years of the measurement study have indicated quite a bit of variation in the data that's been collected. So one could certainly make that leap.
So is that variation between individuals or even variation amongst an individual performing the same measurement?
Both.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And what does that tell us?
It tells us, I think, that there is an opportunity to craft a certification product that's both performance-based and cognitive-based that folks can aspire towards, that really sets a bar, and much needed in industry, doesn't exist historically anywhere. Just a really terrific opportunity to promote the performance of people using these sophisticated measurement devices.
I'm sorry, let me jump in there. You had spoken at the plenary session. You presented the status of the program and where we're at. One of the statistics you quoted, which was fascinating to me, was 80% of the people that are doing these tasks learned on the job. There was no formalized path to proficiency or training.
Yes.
That's a really interesting stat.
80%, and that's really typical, and it's unfortunate, and it's not going to serve us well in the future, because the generation of folks using this equipment right now, by and large, had this equipment invented and matured during our professional working lives, so we were able to grow with the equipment. The next generation isn't going to have that opportunity. They're going to be thrust into the arena with extremely sophisticated equipment, not having had a career that matured with the equipment technology. So it's really, the demographics are another challenge we face.
Now, how does the data that you're collecting from the measurement study, how does this now tie into the training and the certification and everything that follows?
Well, the training and the certification are a couple of different elements. The training will support the certification. The certification is a standalone product. We hope to promote among folks that are present at the conference that professionally offer training services, and also within the public academic community, that those folks build the curriculum to support the skill set that will enable a candidate to be a successful certification person.
Okay, so the training could be separate from the certification. You could get training without certification, and that's still valuable because you still have trained people out there.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
One of the other great things that I got from your address at the plenary was the idea of the code of ethics, which is being built into this thing.
Yes.
Really, really important that it's not just about knowing how to use the equipment, it's also understanding how to ethically do your work and what that means for your organizations. Yep. You care to comment on that?
Absolutely. It's a glaring omission, really, from the profession, and ethics is such an overarching element that everybody needs to adhere to at the highest level, especially in this profession where the quality of the data and the product that you're delivering, with the sophistication of the softwares, there just is an unbelievable opportunity to even inadvertently have data be misrepresented. So I think emphasizing your responsibility to produce the highest quality data is going to be something that we need to embed in this culture.
Tell me if this is what you're talking about. When we had Keith Bevins on the show quite a while ago, and one of the things that he talked about is that, and maybe this is where the ethics comes in, is you're told that a measurement is supposed to be between 1 and 2. Mm-hmm. And if it's 1.5, oh, that's really easy. But if it's 1, or if it's 0.999, there's maybe this tendency to want to call it 1, just because otherwise it's the difference between calling it good and bad. I'd rather call it good. Is that what we're talking about? Kind of ethics is kind of the little fudging here and there.
Yeah, that's a good way to phrase it. And at a more complex level, when you're measuring large artifacts in manufacturing or in industry, often the lines are very blurred, and there is opportunity, I I don't know if fudge the data is accurate, but there certainly is opportunity to manipulate the data to meet expectations rather than let the data tell the story.
Right.
And that's something that I hope culture built around the code of ethics will help to address.
Right, and I'm assuming, this is really an interesting topic, that's why I guess we could talk about this forever, but I'm assuming kind of the idea is that if you don't adhere to a code of ethics, that you really are perhaps impacting the safety of people, because if the piece of equipment that you're measuring has some safety aspect to it and you're not really portraying the data properly, you could actually be setting up a situation that could be dangerous down the line.
Well, we like to think that the processes around data collection would catch that kind of an error or omission, so that it would never actually promote an unsafe condition to exist. More typically, it would promote a costly solution, because you would have progressed through your process, and then you'd have to back up. Having found that there was some error in the data transmission or collection. So it would probably be more expensive than safe. I like to think the safety piece would be caught long before it actually could cause anybody any physical, material harm.
So where are we at now? Where are you at in terms of finishing up, formalizing the training so it can be distributed, and the certification program? Well,
the certification, the cognitive assessment, which is going on this week, all 5 days of the conference, is underway as we speak. I just left the room. We had 62 folks in attendance, which really far exceeded our expectations in any one sitting. Everybody seems excited. We've got all levels and all disciplines, engineers, PhDs, a lot of folks that just use this equipment every day, and just a wide variety of folks participating. So we're really excited about all the energy is created.
Okay, and the certification program is expected to be done by the end of this year, is that?
Well, the first element was the cognitive assessment that we're performing the pilot assessments for this week. We hope to roll that out commercially, certainly by the end of the year. I like to think sometime in the fall. There's some follow-on elements, the performance-based testing, which is going to be instrument-specific. So portable coordinate measurement machines, laser trackers, photogrammetry, area scanners, hand scanners, spherical scanners, and post-processing of data. Those types of performance-based testing are where our next energy will be deployed, and I would hope that by San Diego next year, we will have laser tracker or PCMM performance-based training as a direct result of the measurement study ready to deploy.
Okay. Well, Randy, thank you for giving us an update on the training and the pilot certification program. Wish you guys a lot of luck. It's really important what you guys are doing. I think this is going to be fantastic for the industry.
Great. Thank you.
Okay. Sure. No problem.
Thanks, Randy. Great. Okay, let's move on now to today's Tech Corner. As we mentioned earlier, the CMSC is the place where great new equipment is first presented to the market. CMSC 2012 is no different. At the opening icebreaker Monday night, event sponsor FARO Technologies gave us the first look at their brand spanking new Vantage laser tracker. Beautiful piece of equipment, that Vantage laser tracker.
It was really nice.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Well, now we're going to take a closer look at the Vantage laser tracker.
We'll see just how nice it is right now.
We're going to see just how nice it is in this week's Tech Corner.
It's really nice. Did I mention that?
Thanks, Dirk.
Hello, I'm Chris Morabito with FARO Technologies, and today we're introducing the new Vantage tracker that we just released, and it's really exciting. We've got reduced weight, reduced size, increased portability. We've got carrying cases that we can make it much easier and safer to carry the tracker amongst throughout the plant, throughout the environments you're measuring in. We've added both moisture and dust protection. We've got preventative rating on this new tracker. We have a handle to basically lift it to be able to carry it into some hard to reach locations. We have built-in cameras to actually lock onto the target, and we have integrated Wi-Fi to actually connect to the tracker now. We've got an extended range. We can go out to 80 meters radially from the tracker, so it gives us a lot of added range. We've added infinite rotation, so we can basically track all the way around. We've decreased the size by 25% and the weight by 28%. Of course, we've added the cameras. We've added the our Smart Find, which helps lock onto the beam if you break the beam or cross in front, or if somebody crosses in front of your path. So we can outdoors we can makes it a lot easier to find the beam outdoors and lock onto the target. So that's the long and short of it. To learn more about FARO and the Vantage tracker, go to FARO.com and just select on the Vantage tracker to learn more about it.
Okay, that was the Vantage laser tracker from FARO. I'm sure we'll be hearing and seeing a lot more of the Vantage in coming weeks.
Weren't you on the other side?
I was. We played a little game of musical chairs because we want to. Yeah, well, I was hoping people would blink and not notice that, but that's okay. We're gonna.
Because you know, Paul Naysmith looks a lot like you.
I know, it's like doppelgangers. We're gonna actually tear ourselves away from portable coordinate metrology for a few moments, because the location of this year's show presented us with an irresistible opportunity. Now, Dirk, as I might have mentioned once or twice before,
we're in New Orleans.
We're here in the Big Easy.
There we go.
Yes, we are. And as it happens, one of our regular columnists is a Cajun by way of Scotland.
Cajun in training, I like
a CIT. Paul Naysmith. This is Paul Naysmith right here in the living flesh.
Yes.
Paul was kind enough to come over and visit. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Paul to the show.
Well,
Paul and Vantage Live. Thank you, Paul, for joining us.
It's nice to meet you in the flesh.
That's right.
Can you translate that?
Into Americanese?
Yeah, Americanese. Give your best Cajun.
I can't do that because it's really quite insulting. However, I find myself sometimes using a yawl at the end of my sentences.
Wow.
You can't have two yawls in one sentence, either opens or ends with a yawl. Never two in the same.
Wow. A brogy yawl.
Yeah.
I like that. Well, you know, Paul, your latest article, What the Heck is an Audit?
Yeah, what the heck is an audit?
It was in Wednesday's issue, Quality Digest.
Yep.
So my question to you really is, how the heck do you think your topics? How do you come up with these ideas?
Well, what I do is I've got a little bowl of ideas, and I've trained a chaffinch to go in there with his little beak and pick them up. Whatever really inspires me and catches me, I get bored quite quickly, and I get quite frustrated with things. And sometimes I see a bit of humour in the business world around me, or if I read something, it kind of inspires me. And I like to have fun, as you guys know, and I really enjoy writing. And I thought, well, why don't we just have fun and do all this? So that's how I come up with my topics or my subjects.
Well, they're always good. I mean, they're very well read. Our audience out there loves Paul, of course.
So what the heck is an audit?
You know, I have no idea. That's the whole reason why I wrote this article. No, I've been finding myself throughout my quality career when it comes to audits, everyone's petrified of this thing called an audit. They're fearful to have this thing called an NCR. And I keep finding I repeat myself over and over again to explain what an audit is. And I was thinking to myself one day, preparing for an audit, a long and distant conversation I had with a previous colleague, and I thought, well, maybe an opportunity to put my perspective on what my view of an audit is on paper, because everyone hears this thing called, the auditors are coming and we'll have to audit that.
And they get all terrified.
Or they get the glazed look in the eye like, oh, really? He's talking about an audit. It's time to go to sleep. But I just wanted to get my flavour on thing, and I've got a very simplistic, childlike view of the world, and I wanted to maybe put that down on paper, so maybe a similar quality professional in a similar situation, if they ever get asked, they might want to use that. That's the only thinking behind that. And plus, I've got a humorous little story in there as well that I share.
See, I have a question for you now. Okay, you bill yourself as a quality punk and an improvement ninja.
That's right, I do.
So which of those personas best serves you during an audit?
You know what, both. Quality punk. I wrote an article many months ago about quality philosophies and ideas, and I kind of thought I'd be a bit edgy and say that all these brilliant industrialists and management philosophers were punks. I wanted to make a statement that they thought a bit different, and it kind of suited my mood at the time. Right? And then at the same time I thought, well, I'm this thing called a Lean Six Sigma black belt. I really don't like the term Six Sigma. Why is there six and what's the Sigma thing? And if I say to myself I'm an improvement ninja, I go, wow, that sounds cool and fun. So that's the only reason why I do these things. But when an auditor comes and asks me, he never knows. I don't think the auditors that visit me ever read Quality Digest, which is a shame. By the time they finish with me, they're now subscribers. Let's put it that way.
Way to go. Way to go.
You know, by the way, with your punk background, I want to thank you for taking the safety pin out of your ear before you came on the show.
Yeah,
I
appreciate that. It was attached to my navel.
Oh, okay. Good. Well, thank you for taking that out too.
Yeah.
Really appreciate that.
So what do auditors think of you when they come in and here's this guy who's pretty probably irreverent towards them, maybe?
Well, I'm not irreverent. I challenge them. Okay. I'll get them in and they'll do their wonderful opening speech and they'll say, this is the scope. And I'll go, okay, stop. You're here to improve my business. It's consultancy in my view.
Okay. Let's talk about. Let's seriously here a little bit. I mean, we ran an article a week or two ago. One of our ISO 9000 consultants, and basically kind of touched on that. It's like, you know, you don't have to fear an auditor. I mean, they're there to do you a service, and by the way, they do kind of work for you, in a sense. You know, and if you don't trust what they're saying, or if you think they're wrong, I mean, there's no reason why you can't call them on it. I mean,
or call their boss and say, hey, I need a different auditor.
Yeah, for some crazy reason, we put these auditors on such a pedestal. Because they have this auditor title, everyone might treat them as some kind of expert or overseer, but all they're doing is just comparing what you have against a standard or specification. And in many ways, the auditors I've experienced, they don't actually understand my business. They don't understand my customer in the way that I do. So most of the time, I will spend educating what we do and say, well, this is what our customer expects. This is how we interpret that requirement. This is how we deliver it. And it's really the customer that's important to me. And in the article, I do touch upon customer audits. I really welcome customer audits. I always have an open door policy for my customers. Because I'd rather have 10 findings in audit from a customer than one customer complaint. To me, that is just ideal for me.
Yes.
Okay, we have to do work and improve, but I just love when my customer says, well, this is our requirements.
Right.
You're not meeting them in this way. This is a free solution for you. I love it. It's wonderful.
It's the way it should work, really.
The way it should work.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, let's touch back on Six Sigma for a minute. You read an article that was really popular a few months back where you talked about Six Sigma, the training you went through to get all these 100 tools of Six Sigma, which you use free, right?
Yeah.
I mean, do you use... It's a constant argument we have on amongst our users of the value of Six Sigma. Is it really something that needs to be pushed down to the rank and file, or should it be kind of an upper echelon tool that's only used by statisticians? What do you think about that?
Okay, you've proposed a very quite complex question there, but in my view, it's all down to the fit and the suit for the business that you're in. Six Sigma is a great catch-all term for improvement. And different businesses will have different levels of maturity. Some businesses will be very data rich, and that's where the statistical analysis will be wonderful. You can use it there, and you can do a really good job. However, some businesses might not be ready for that data collection. They just need to become more streamlined. So then there's the kind of the basis of making the improvement and getting the measurements in place to help you along the way. So it depends on your maturity of business. I think any business should go through the plan, do, check, act cycle from coming to assessing their needs for what training and improvement they should have. But I have to say that when I wrote that article, I was kind of making the point that I've got all these wonderful tools and techniques that I don't use. Am I failing in some way? But no, it's actually because maybe the business that I'm in is not ready for these tools. I've got them, they're in my tool shop, my man cave, but I'm not needing them just yet. So, but no, it's great. I love improvement and I love quality. So it's a joyful thing when you do it as your job.
So what brought you here? What brought you to Louisiana from Scotland?
That's a really good question. I was working and living in Scotland, and I worked for a company called Expro. They're in the oil and gas industry. I've been with them for about 4 years by that point, and an opportunity came up within our Gulf of Mexico operations, and we're based here in southern Louisiana, a place called Broussard. The opportunity came up, and I applied for it, and the team knew me, and they worked with me in the past, and they said, well, yeah, of course, please, we'll accept your application, and you'll have to go through the interview process like all the other candidates. And I said, sure. And fortunately, I was a successful candidate, and the company I worked for had been superb. They relocated my family and I, our house, over here, and it's been
actually
great.
Moved the entire house?
Well,
It's amazing.
Just the content, Dirk.
I don't know, man. Like a little Scottish cash.
I want to read my contract.
It's like
I want
brick
the
by brick by
I
brick.
want the window frames, and I want to put it back in the same
Come on,
place.
X-Pro, they got money, right? They can do that.
They're a very good company. They're doing very well, and we've got.
And what do you do for them?
I am the health, safety, environmental, and quality manager for their North America offshore operations, mainly predominantly here in the Gulf of Mexico. The Gulf of Mexico has gone through a lot of changes in the past few years, which has been very high profile. And what I can bring is my understanding of the different requirements from other parts of the organisation, and my improvement philosophies and ideas, and help bring the business to another level.
After the Gulf oil spill, did you find that, or did X-Pro find that there was a lot more interest in bringing on people as yourself as consultants, or to help look at the quality and safety aspect? I mean, was that
the whole focus, as I saw it and observed within the oil industry, was more safety.
Okay.
It was seen as a safety event. Now, I maybe view safety as a quality element of your business, but that's my point of view. However, the investigations that were performed both by all the various parties and the government agencies were actually very powerful investigations. And when you look through it, all the kind of traditional quality thinking was missed out. The prevention measures, the checks and balances, the controls. So as the industry is starting to recover and the global economy started to use hydrocarbons again, there is actually a big skills gap within the oil and gas business. Engineers just now.
Sure.
There's not enough engineers on the planet.
Right.
And engineering is a big thing. Quality professionals, there's not enough quality professionals out there right now, and it's a great career for anyone out there to get into. I love it. I'm very passionate for it. I'm sad to see that there's not enough more young people coming into the business, and maybe in the future that'll change. The older generation of the baby boomers that lived through the quality evolution in the 1980s and early 90s, they're all now starting to retire, and there's a big skills gap and knowledge gap, and that concerns me. And it concerns me because I think we're going to pretty much go through the same learning curve that we went through in the 1970s and 80s, which is such wasted effort. But for the oil business, things are looking good. Things are getting a lot better, a lot safer. The statistics in the oil business is a lot of statistics. It's getting better all the time, safer and more environmentally conscious. It's excellent.
It's interesting what you talk about. I mean, part of what's going on here at the show, and actually our next story is going to talk about that a little bit, is actually this lack of, in this industry, metrology, skilled people, engineers with measurement science.
Yep,
you know, but it's kind of engineering in general. There's a kind of a lot going on with that. Stick around a little bit.
I'd love to stick around if you.
All right. We'll go on to the next story here.
And you can comment freely, please. I know you're very shy.
You can ask questions. So in case you don't know, we're talking to Paul Naysmith here. Paul is one of our more popular columnists.
Hi, Mom.
There he is. Okay, well, our next story, as I said, deals specifically with coordinate metrology, but more broadly, it touches on quality issues involving overcoming complacency and fighting assumptions. So this is going to be an interesting piece. The piece was called Question the Status Quo. And it comes from Talley and Edwards, and it ran in Tuesday's issue of Quality Digest, I believe. Talley wrote an interesting column last week that, although really geared toward the metrology industry, really has a much broader application. In his column, Edwards admits that even though he works in the metrology community, he is not really a measurement specialist. His background is in design engineering, or as he puts it, the well-meaning folks who don't quite grasp the complexities of the manufacturing process and the measurement systems that support it. So what he's talking about is that for design engineers working in high-end CAD packages, you can specify anything you want, and every problem is solved with a mouse click. Put a 5,000 tolerance on a part? No problem, mouse click. Or, oh yeah, that part is going to expand and contract due to temperature. No problem, we'll fix it by applying temperature compensation. No problem, it's just a mouse click. It's easy, right? Not so much. Not so much. And unless you're really trained in what are called the first principles of measurement, you really don't understand the complexities of temperature compensation, particularly when you're talking about an assembly made of non-homogeneous materials. It's one thing to apply temperature compensation to a single aluminum part. It's another thing when you got, aluminum and carbon fiber and titanium and all these things.
Coatings on top as well.
Exactly. You got all this stuff meshed in, so you can't just say, oh, we'll just apply a temperature comp to it. So Edwards' point is that we've really become way too reliant on technology to solve our problems, right? I mean, everything is just a mouse click. And he is speaking of metrology in this case, but we all can relate to our reliance on automation. I mean, ever rely on a spell checker only to find out the word public is just fine without the letter L, according to the spell checker?
Oh, my spell checker's worse. It turns into Americanese.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I know.
Everything, they take all the Z's, replace them with S's?
No, it's the other way around. It's
Z's.
And they take the U's out of wonderful words like color.
And T-Y-R-E is like not a word? I
like to call it spell chuck.
Spelled chuck, which actually works.
Yeah. Perfect.
Well, look, we can all agree that the purpose of automation is to make what we should be doing easier, but that doesn't mean that you have to put your brain in neutral, right?
No.
You still got to really understand the primary principles of your job, or what the design output of your job is, what the intent of it is. A design engineer who doesn't understand the complexities, for instance, of physics or materials is going to make mistakes, just like an editor myself is going to make mistakes if I don't really understand the basics of grammar or spelling.
Right, and if you don't have the basics, if you don't understand the underpinnings of the result you're going to get, you may get a result that just doesn't make sense, and you won't know. You're going to say, yeah, that's what it told me. That's what I'm going to do. I mean, it's like GPS sometimes directs you to drive into a lake. Don't drive into a lake. Don't drive it. You know.
Learn from your mistake. That's all I'm going to say.
And by the way, there was. Did you guys see there actually was a YouTube story?
I know.
Woman, So, I mean, do you run across that in your industry where?
Yeah, he's driving to the lakes all the time.
Well, it's my industry driving. No, the challenge that we have is that as we get more and more complex as a society, we've got such more and more demands on the products and hardware we use. And manufacturers are doing it, and researchers are doing an excellent job to make more and more complex. More exotic materials can create, a lighter object or a more stronger object. The challenge that we have in our industry is that, like here at the conference, is that all these new technology companies are trying to promote measurement excellence, and that's great. We get more precise, which could lead to a better product. However, the challenge is if we don't understand how we measure that object and understand the elements to that, we could actually misinterpret the outcome or the output from that measurement. And it's interesting, you come across it quite a lot. So you'll have one inspector rejecting another inspector's output. It's like, well, he's got different set of results from me. Well, why is that? Because you have different variations and everything else. And measurement experts, they have this thing called gauge repeatability and reproducibility studies, which is a statistical term for analysis of variance.
Right.
And that's one way we can look at the contributing factors to the elements of measurement. And yeah, I have to agree, we're getting more and more reliant on this computer thing. We think it's the answer to all our problems. And I think one of the things we need to do is actually say, well, actually, is the computer wrong? In some circumstances, that's dangerous, especially if you're on a plane, because the computer more likely will be right. And however, in the real world, we need to get down to maybe asking the question is why? Why are we getting this response? Let's understand that. And a lot of the time we take shortcuts. We think this measurement technology is going to solve all our problems in a heartbeat, but we never take the time to understand it. And there's a lot of clever people at the suppliers that teach you for nothing or as part of the contract all about measurement and understanding measurement variance.
Right, well, I mean, so actually, it's a great segue. That's why training is really important, and that's actually where Talion Edwards was heading in his argument, is that no matter your industry, you need some sort of training in the basics of your job, regardless of whether or not a mouse click can do your job for you. The mouse is no substitute for your brain, right? So, and actually, that's a lot of what this show was about. Or part of, we had Gruver on earlier, talking about measurement training, so that the people who are using the equipment actually understand what it's doing and why, and actually how to use it properly, because the equipment is really smart, but it's still run by a human being, and they got to know what they're doing.
We get to it all the time, and it's something we've hammered on this show often, is that too many times people downgrade the H in HMI. People don't understand that human element, yes, a human-machine interface, but it's a human. The human is the one that can make a decision.
Squishyware.
Yeah, that's right. Who was that who talked about squishy?
That was Squishy. That was me.
That was you? Came up with that?
I think I probably stole it from somebody, but I'll take it. Yeah.
But good stuff. No, great. Really good article from Talion, and thanks to him for writing that. All All right, well, that's our long show for the week.
We kept you here for a while.
We did, but I think it was well worth all of our times. We want to, of course, thank everyone who made it possible. The CMSC, folks that are putting on the show, Chuck Pfeffer, Randy Gruver, and Talian Edwards of the CMSC, FARO Technologies for showing us their new Vantage laser tracker, and of course,
Paul Naysmith.
Paul Naysmith.
Thank you, Paul, today, just for having me.
That's right,
sure.
Coming down. Next week, we're back at our home studios in Chico, California, where we'll once again cover the people, places, and trends making news in the world of quality. So have a great weekend, and we'll see you then.
So long.
Thank you.